Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to begin. This Planning Commission is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We are live on KCLV Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, and Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Flangus,
Here.
Vice Chair Moody,
Here.
Commissioner Goins,
Present.
Commissioner Truesdale,
Present.
Commissioner Quinn, excused, Commissioner Schlottman,
Present.
Commissioner Bonar.
Present.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate your adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Thank you. We're going to go to item number 4 on the agenda, public comment. All comments made under this item for specific action items will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion of the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 5, our housekeeping items. Are there any items that the commissioners, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Mr. Chairman, the following items have been requested to be held in abeyance to the February 11, 2014 Planning Commission meeting. Items number 29 through 32, GPA 52116, ZON 52117, WVR 52169, and TMP 52119. Items number 33 through 37, GPA 52122, ZON 52123, WVR 52171, VAC 52125, and TMP 52127. Items number 38 through 40, GPA 52133, 52134, and TMP 52135. Items number 45, SUP 52101. The following items have been requested to be held in abeyance to the March 11th, 2014 Planning Commission meeting. Items number 19 through 21, VAR 51765, VAR 51766, and SDR 51764. The following items have been requested to be withdrawn without prejudice. Items number 14 through number 18, MOD 50901, VAR 50904, WVR 50908, SUP 50906, and SDR 50909. Following items have been requested to be stricken. Item number 46, SUP 52103. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak on any of these items? Seeing none, Commissioner Moody, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion is to obey until the February 11, 2014 Planning Commission meeting. Items 29 through 40 and 45. Obey until the March 11, 2014 Planning Commission meeting. Items 19 through 21. Withdraw without prejudice items 14 through 18, and strike item 46 from the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion carries. We'll now go on to the correction. We'll go on to the one motion, one vote portion of the agenda. The following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearings and non-public hearing items will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. Commissioner Goins, I believe you wanted something to do with item number 12?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at the request of Commissioner Quinn, who I spoke with earlier today, she is requesting that item 12, SDR 51931, be pulled and held until the neighborhood meeting is conducted.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sir, did you want an item?
I'll just real briefly. On those Richmond American items, on those abeyance, I think you have to have public comment on the abeyance, but not, I don't want to say anything about it, though. On item number 6, I think that you ought to check the traffic pattern on those things before you approve putting in the liquor store there. On number 8, that the distance on that thing, they're reducing it to less than half, and that sounds like serious. On number 9, I hope that when they orientate these houses, they do it for future solar panel installation when that comes around. Thank you.
Sir, are you asking for any of these to be pulled, or is it just your comment?
No, I just comment.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on items 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 13? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Excuse me, Chair. I'm sorry. Are we going to pull item 12 to hold it in abeyance?
Yes, that's why I just mentioned those right there. And item 12 will be pulled. We'll vote on that in just a moment.
Mr. Chair, the motion on the one motion, one vote portion of the agenda is for approval of items 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 13, with item 12 being pulled forward to the public hearing on.
Please vote. Please post. Motion carries to approve items 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 13.
Mr. Chair, please note that items 8, 11, and 13 are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days. Item number 9 is final action in the absence of an appeal within 7 days. And items number 6, 10, and 12 go forward to the February 19th City Council meeting. And item number 7 goes forward to City Council in ordinance format.
Okay, we're going to move on now to item number 12, which is SDR 51931. The applicant owner is High Fives LLC for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a one-story, 7,675 square foot medical office building with a waiver to allow a 0-foot landscape buffer where 8 feet is required for a portion of the east and west property lines at 2480 Professional Court. It's in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report on it, please?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, staff recommends approval of this request as the proposed development is harmonious and compatible with the surrounding commercial development and is in substantial conformance to the design and development standards listed in the Las Vegas Technology Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have the applicant present? Sir, if you could state your name and address, please.
Wade Takashima, TWC Construction, 431 Eastgate Road, Henderson, Nevada, 89011.
And you obviously heard Commissioner Goins a little while ago ask that to have this matter pulled.
Yes.
For purposes to obey this, to allow you to have a meeting?
Sure, I just...
Are you in agreement with that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion or discussion.
Mr. Chairman, if no discussion on the item, I'd move to hold item 12, SDR 51931 for, I'll defer to staff for which cycle you want to put this on.
What's?
We'll hold this item to the February 11th Planning Commission meeting.
Okay.
Thank
You
you,
in agreement?
Commissioner. Please vote.
Thank you.
Please post. Motion to move this to the February 11th, 2014 meeting is approved. We'll now go on to the public hearing items, beginning with item number 22 and related items 23 and 24. Item number 22 is SUP 51444. The applicant owner is 900 Fremont LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 14,563 square foot tavern limited use at 1023 Fremont Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 23, SUP 51445, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 90-foot tall small wind energy system with a waiver to allow such use on a 17,400 square foot lot where a 20,000 square foot lot is the minimum lot size required, and to allow a 12-foot setback from a residential structure where a 90-foot setback is required. Staff is recommending denial. Other related item number 24, SDR 51443, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 14,563 square foot tavern limited facility that includes a 7,293 square foot commercial recreation / amusement outdoor space. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed development consists of a tavern limited use, which includes a 4,700 square foot building located at 1031 Fremont Street and a 5,500 square foot building at 1023 Fremont Street, as well as a proposed 6,300 square foot private performance venue between the two structures. There is also a small wind energy system use that consists of a 90-foot tall windmill that will provide electric power to offset the energy demands of the site. This use fails to comply with the Title 19 conditional use requirements for minimum lot size and minimum distance separations from residential uses, and therefore requires the approval of a special use permit. The applicant is proposing to renovate the facade and interiors of the existing structures, provide streetscape improvements along 11th Street where there currently is no landscaping, as well as constructing a two-level seating area and stage between the buildings. Staff recommends approval of the requested special use permit for the proposed tavern limited use establishment and the site development plan review as conditioned. Staff recommends denial of the requested special use permit for the proposed 90-foot tall small wind energy system. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant? And sir, if you could state your name and address, please.
George Rogers, architect, 6325 South Jones Boulevard, representing the applicant. And Mr. Chairman, I wonder if we can trail this item. The property owner wants to present this to you, and he's not at the meeting yet. So we ask that you trail this if you can.
Okay, we'll go ahead and trail it, and then Commissioner Slotman, I think you wanted to abstain on this matter?
Yes, I just wanted to say I was going to be abstaining on this matter as I have an ongoing business relationship with the applicant.
Sir, we'll go ahead and trail you at this time.
Thank you.
We're going to move on now to related items 25, 26, 27, and 28, beginning with item number 28, or excuse me, item number 25, GPA 52090. The applicant is Richmond American Homes. The owner is Big Teton LLC. For possible action on a request for a general plan amendment from R rural density residential to ML medium low density residential on the north side of Deer Springs Way, approximately 290 feet east of Grand Canyon Drive in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending denial. Related item number 26, ZON 52091, for possible action on a request for a rezoning from U undeveloped R rural density residential general plan designation to RCL single family compact lot. Staff is recommending denial. Item number 27, VAR 52093, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 1.0 connectivity ratio where a 1.3 ratio is required. Staff is recommending denial. Related item 28, TMP 52094, Deer Springs 5, for possible action on a request for a tentative map for a proposed 21-lot, single-family residential subdivision. Staff is recommending denial. Staff, may we have the report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to amend the Las Vegas 2020 master plan to allow the subject site a density range of up to 8.49 dwelling units per acre, where currently a maximum density of 3.59 dwelling units per acre is permitted. Concurrently, the applicant is proposing to rezone the subject site to an RCL, or single-family compact lot zoning district, that would allow for lot sizes that range from 3,000 square feet on up, as well as allow for compact 35-foot minimum lot width and zero lot line development. Staff finds that the proposed general plan amendment and associated zoning designation is not compatible with the surrounding rural density residential designated properties to the north, south, and west, as well as the low-density residential designated properties to the east, and therefore recommends denial of both applications. Subsequently, staff cannot support the associated tentative map and street connectivity variance request as the subject site is being overbuilt. Please note that additional letters of protest and support have been received after the publishing. Thank you.
Thank you. May we hear from the applicant? And sir, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Brian Walsh. I'm at Richmond American Homes, 7770 South D. Martin Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada. We did have a neighborhood meeting a few weeks ago on this, and just to be clear, what we're submitting, although it is for RCL, we are asking for 21 lots on just over 5 acres gross, which is right at 4 units an acre. And our minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet, right at 6,000 square feet. Many of them are larger. The neighbors, the only two of the neighbors that we met with, and there weren't many that talked about this particular property, one of the neighbors was a little concerned about having access onto Deer Springs. The other neighbor was a little concerned about having access to Haley to the north. So we had opposing views, and at the end, they both agreed that the lot size we proposed was consistent with what's surrounding us. The house sizes that we proposed were certainly consistent with what's in the neighborhood. As far as the connectivity is concerned, because the site's 5 acres, we barely just missed the connectivity ratio. And in order to meet it, we'd have to find some way to punch some kind of access out from those cul-de-sacs to either Haley or onto Deer Springs. It wouldn't seem feasible to do that on such a tiny little site. This is a particular zoning that's sort of caught in between, where we want to do 4 units an acre, but in order to do it, we have to jump to the RCL zoning. Obviously, we don't intend on doing 3,000 square foot lots. The tentative map as submitted has 6,000 square feet and bigger. Again, we certainly think that it's appropriate. If we need to hold this for a month and have some further meetings with staff, I don't know if meetings with the neighbors, any additional meetings with the neighbors is necessary. We'll certainly be willing to do that. Maybe explain in more detail what we plan on doing. Again, we're at 4 units an acre, which is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood, in our opinion. I can answer any other questions about the product, the pricing, and everything else we propose.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter?
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Mr. Director, can you tell me what the connectivity ratio is? What it applies to? What is it?
Mr. Chair, through you.
And
in response
here's a
to Mr.
graduate of the planning committee. I'm almost embarrassed to say this.
In response to Mr. Farlow's question, connectivity ratio refers to the number of connections between the proposed subdivision and the outside streets. That includes both vehicular connections and pedestrian and bicycle connections as well.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Sir, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name's Peter Janney. I live at 6872 Deer Isle Street, Las Vegas, Nevada. And I was one of the residents at the meeting with the developer. And generally, I'm in favor of it as long as it looks like this. And I realize there's all these arcane things about the zoning, but it is compatible with my neighborhood, which is to the west and north. And it appears to be compatible with everybody around it from what I've researched on the Las Vegas website. So I'm in favor of it, but I know there's some legal issues with the zoning.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I will close public comment portion, open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't see any reason to put this off for another month. I think the applicant has stated correctly what concerns were raised during the neighborhood meeting. And like the neighbor we've heard from, I think this is compatible, especially with some of the lots that are on the outside. It seems like a good transition between the surrounding properties. And so, while the general plan amendment allows for a higher residential density than the 2 dwelling units per acre that's currently designated for this site, I think that 21 units or 21 single-family homes is appropriate considering those surrounding densities. And I also have to agree with the neighbor, based on the tentative map that we're approving or considering with this, I'm satisfied that the applicant's going to do exactly what's been represented here today. So you'll see my support on all of these.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do any other commissioners wish to be heard? Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Chairman. Not to repeat the same thing, but it seems like the lot sizes here on this parcel map and tentative map are larger than the abutting lots, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about connectivity ratios myself, not at this meeting, but sometime in the future. Because if we connect the cul-de-sacs back over to Haley or Deer Springs, it would create this small pathway between the property line and the Button House, and it would become an area of constant maintenance and cleaning up trash. And I don't know if that would actually be used by the individuals. Also, it could become a place where individuals could start hiding out at night or amongst other things. So I think the way it's designed is probably the best way that it could be designed for this particular site. And as long as they don't come back and change their tentative map to something that's a lot more intense, I feel comfortable with this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, item 25 GPA 52090, the motion is for approval, subject to all conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve carries.
Item 26 is ZON 52091. Motion is for approval, again, subject to all conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve carries.
Item 27, VAR 52093. Motion is for approval, subject to all conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve carries.
And finally, item 28, TMP 52094. The motion is for approval following all conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve carries.
Mr. Chairman, these items go forward to the February 19th City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Going to recall items 22, 23, and 24. Item number 22 is SUP 51444, applicant owners 900 Fremont LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 14,563 square foot tavern limited use at 1023 Fremont Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 23, SUP 51445, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 90-foot tall small wind energy system with a waiver to allow such use on a 17,400 square foot lot where a 20,000 square foot lot is the minimum lot size required, and to allow a 12-foot setback from a residential structure where a 90-foot setback is required. Staff is recommending denial. Item number 24, SDR 51443, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 14,563 square foot tavern limited facility that includes a 7,293 square foot commercial recreation / amusement space outdoor. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have the report again, please?
Chairman, just to repeat the abstention, I'll be abstaining due to an ongoing business relationship. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, one more time.
Thank you.
The proposed development consists of a tavern limited use, which includes a 4,700 square foot building located at 1031 Fremont Street and a 5,500 square foot building at 1023 Fremont Street, as well as a proposed 6,300 square foot private performance venue between the two structures. There is also a small wind energy system use that consists of a 90-foot tall windmill that will provide electric power to offset the energy demands of the site. This use fails to comply with the Title 19 conditional use requirements for minimum lot size and minimum distance separation from residential uses, and therefore requires the approval of a special use permit. The applicant is proposing to renovate the facades and interiors of the existing structures, provide streetscape improvements along 11th Street, where there currently is no landscaping, as well as constructing a two-level seating area and stage between the buildings. Staff recommends approval of the requested special use permit for the proposed tavern limited establishment use and the site development plan review as conditioned. Staff recommends denial of the requested special use permit for the proposed 90-foot tall small wind energy system. Thank you.
Thank you again on the report. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Todd Kessler, 1300 Las Vegas Boulevard North. And again, I apologize for my tardiness. I was stuck at a board meeting. I apologize. Yes, this is an interesting project. This is called the Wheelhouse, and it's a reuse project on the corner of 10th and Fremont, or 11th and Fremont, I'm sorry. And it's an existing building that used to be a house of dry cleaners a long time ago. And this is an exciting project in the sense that it's going to bring live music to this part of downtown, which is adjacent to the bunkhouse, which is where there is currently live music as well. This project, in conjunction with that, will be renovated at the same time, and those venues will open rather closely, if you would, to provide an area that will give an opportunity for local musicians to perform. The SUP is simply for the Tavern Limited license to allow for that to occur, and then, of course, the unique part of this project is hence from the name, the Wheelhouse, the pinwheel. We currently have a tower on the corner of 9th and Stewart that we're intending on reusing for the top part of this. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It looks like an oil rig that's just sitting out there in nowhere land.
Excuse me, sir, you're going to have to speak up because you're not really
Sure.
projecting through there. Thank you.
No problem. We were intending on reusing an existing steel metal structure that we have on 9th and Stewart on the property that we own. Cut it down and then put a pinwheel, in essence, or a wind wheel on top of it to generate electricity to help light and electrocute the stage, if you would. I'm happy to answer any questions specific. I would ask that you approve, subject to staff's conditions on the SUP, and that you approve on the tower.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Then, sir, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Doug DeMacy, 208 North 9th. I own residential property that there's not much that sits between the residents and this project. I'm not against it. I like what I see, but I'm concerned about the noise, and I'm also a little confused. Maybe someone on the panel can explain to me. There's a noise abatement rule that stops at 8th Street, but this is on 11th. So if this was an outdoor amphitheater, I mean, wouldn't they need a permit each time they were going to have an outdoor event? They're not inside the entertainment district. And then, not to speak to other items, but it seems like they're stacking up a bunch of liquor licenses on 11th in Fremont. When the entertainment district, those rules are all embedded. I'm just confused as to how they can put them on top of each other. I understand it in the entertainment district. But then my big concern is the noise. And Mr. Kessler mentioned that the bunkhouse had live music, and they did, and it was never really an issue with the residents where my property is. But they weren't pushing much watts out of the system that was behind the bunkhouse. So I'm assuming this is going to be a state-of-the-art. When, I may be mispronouncing this, but when Azul fires up their sound system, that's the one that's behind the El Cortez, it's really loud. So they're just pushing more money through the sound system, is my point. And this place concerns me as to if this is a state-of-an-art system and how loud it will be. Recently, they held a concert. It's, Life is Beautiful. I actually had windows that broke from the bass drum. If you stood in the alley next to the apartments that night, the dumpsters vibrated all night long. I mean, I think if you're going to approve this, there needs to be some conditions on later if it's bothering residents. You know, those are my concerns.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter?
Thank you, Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I'd really like to see this happen, and especially to put that old thing, that old sign that looks like a drilling rig to use. As far as the noise, I hope that can be addressed. But as the windmill itself, I can tell you that I was raised on a ranch, and the noise of the windmill, the pumping of the water doesn't bother you at all. In fact, it puts you to sleep. But as far as the music goes, that might be another issue. But I'd like to see this done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else wish to be heard? And, sir, if you could state your name and address, please.
Thank you. It's Jeff Rogan, 1154 East Carson. My wife and I live in the Urban Lofts, which is immediately across 11th Street from the proposed tavern. I think it's a great idea. I think that it's great to have what's happening on East Fremont to move down towards Maryland Parkway. My concern is simply what the first speaker raised, is just the noise from the theater. It looks like, as the first speaker said, it looks like a pretty fancy theater with, or a fancy stage with a sophisticated sound system, which is unlike what the bunkhouse had. I don't know anything about noise abatement and what the rules and regulations are on that, but my prime concern is making sure that we're not disturbed late at night on a weeknight or even on a Saturday night, and I would hope that if you do approve it, that some limitations are put on that stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion and open it up for discussion amongst the commission. Commissioner Moody.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to follow up on the requests that have been made by those who have spoken and ask you, first of all, what is your plan with the outdoor space?
Sure, it'll house live entertainment, not on a frequent basis, on a daily basis, but on a more infrequent basis, a few times a month. We will comply with all of the local noise ordinances as it relates to that. As some of the gentlemen stated, the Fremont East District does not have a noise ordinance, but we are not in the Fremont East. I'll let staff talk about what it is. We will comply with all of those regulations.
Okay, then I guess my follow-up is with staff to find out what kind of restrictions are in place regarding noise. Through you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
While Mr. Rankin is looking for the specifics, let me just speak generally about the city's noise restrictions. As has already been pointed out, this property is not located within the entertainment district, and so it's not subject to the exemption that we have in place there. So it is going to be subject to the restrictions that we do have in place in the Las Vegas Municipal Code as currently exists. And typically there is a decibel level or something that they cannot exceed. And, again,
And they'd be
Mr.
required to
Rankin
get a
is looking
special
for-
event permit on each occasion that they had an event, is that correct?
No, they would not.
not?
As
Okay.
part of this site plan, they're identifying the use that they have in the outdoor area, and so they would not require a special event permit each time they do something outdoors.
And while Mr. Rankin still is kind of looking that up, Mike, I have a quick question pertaining to the noise abatement. You're going to have the live entertainment in the courtyard, so to speak?
There'll be live entertainment in both inside and outside, yes.
Well, when it's in the courtyard, are there walls around the courtyard that'll somewhat attenuate the noise?
It is a fully walled compound as we speak. I mean, there's two buildings adjacent, both to the east and to the west. And then with this design, you'll see it kind of has a wall along Fremont. So to answer your question is yes. There are 4 walls in essence on each side of the internal courtyard. Except with the exception of what you see as, which is currently on here, this area here is where the wall does not extend. But every other area is walled.
Thank you. Mr. Rankin?
Yeah, well, while he's looking that up, maybe the director knows this. What about restrictions on time?
Restrictions on time would need to be placed as part of a special use permit. And so if that is the desire of the Planning Commission, then you would need to include that as an amended condition for the conditions of approval.
So again, through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant, do you have some type of idea about what you're willing to do on time?
Yeah, I don't want to answer that question directly. I'm going to bring up the operator and let him talk for a second.
Thank you.
George Rogers, architect, 6325 South Jones, representing the operator. Outside events in the courtyard, limiting the hours, well, we'd be willing to talk about it, but an event that might happen that way may want to be not during the day, but into the evening. And I don't know what kind of restrictions you might entertain placing on the outside entertainment.
I think what it would do is we'll let Ryan talk about what his intended hours are.
Ryan Doherty, 3070 West Post. The intended hours would be, I'd say Wednesday through Sunday would open at 5 p.m. And when there's live entertainment, we would have that 2 to 3 times a month. That could go between 8 o'clock showtime to end right around 11. And then the rest of the time it operates as a restaurant bar. So our hours would be until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on weekends and midnight on weekdays.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, then if I can just follow up with the applicant, would you be willing to stipulate to a condition that provided for outside entertainment on weekdays until midnight and on weekends until 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Truesdale?
Does that meet what our current code requirements are, Director?
Mr. Chairman, through you, it would not meet the conditions of Title IX that would exceed the limitations. Title IX, in regards to amplified music, at a distance of 50 feet from such amplified music operated in or on the public right-of-way or in a public space shall not, let's see, once again, it's written in different subsections, so I apologize.
But we don't have under this special use permit, we don't
Yeah,
have...
between the hours of 11 PM and 7 AM, you cannot have the amplified music. And also at a distance of 50 feet at any time, it cannot create a disturbance.
But we don't have the ability under this SUP to modify the code.
You can't go beyond the code, Commissioner.
Okay. So the applicant would need to understand you're agreeing to those limitations that are way different than what you might perceive to be in the Fremont East and elsewhere. So that, based on your hours of operation, there is a limitation there, greater than what you've, I just want you to understand that that's what's before us.
Right, and I just spoke with the applicant, I'll let him speak for himself, and we're one of the applicants on behalf of the landowner, but we'd be willing to accept that, and we're aware of that hours. I wasn't going to state them, I wanted to make sure they were correct on staff.
I don't have a problem with your SUP. I mean, outdoor entertainment, bars, you know, you got the bunkhouse down there, you've got this. What I have a concern with is when we passed the small wind energy ordinance, it was after a lot of discussion and a lot of concern over those structures being more creatively considered some kind of sign or a 90-foot tower in relationship to this building wouldn't make sense as a sign. I know you may own the tower, but I don't see where the tower fits the character of this property. And I think I won't support the tower. I don't have a problem with, you know, the tavern use or tavern limited use. But I want, my concern is as we look at these small wind energy, we set within state and other requirements, minimum size requirements for parcels, and really looked at some design compatibilities. And I look at this more realistically as you'd be asking for a 90-foot sign on a one-story building or a two-story building. So I'm not going to support that part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I have a question.
Commissioner Goins?
Mr. Kessler, I kind of like the wind energy out there. I guess my question is, you said it's going to be used to be partially for the lighting for the stage. How much kilowatt does that generate, and can it power the whole building? I guess it would be my question.
Sure, I'll let Ryan answer that because he's much more knowledgeable about that.
It's unlikely to power the entire building, but it will power, so we'll be able to accumulate energy through wind 24 hours a day, and then we'll have a show for, let's say, 3 hours a night. So we'll accumulate credits directly into the grid, and then we'll deplete credits as we do a show. We haven't tested this yet with shows and the lighting that the bands are going to be bringing in, because it'll be a variable, but you know, we're looking to be the first zero-impact stage that's ever been built, and that's the reason for the tower. And as far as you know, this 90-foot structure, it's optimal for accumulating wind and harnessing wind power, but it's also where we're using that structure that's already down there. So that was one part.
There's no future, you're not going to add on to that structure in any way, are you?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Boner?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Commissioner Truesdale that the structure really is more of a sign than a functional energy conservation issue, and as a sign, I'm not going to support it either.
Does anybody else wish to be heard on this? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, regarding item 22, SUP 51444, the motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval following all conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 22 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
On item 23, SUP 51445, the motion is also for approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 23 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
And finally, item 24, SDR 51443, the motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval, subject to conditions.
Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 24 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, please note that these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Moving on now to related items 41, 42, and 43, beginning with item 41. GPA 52399, the applicant owner, Church God Seventh-day English, for possible action on a request for a general plan amendment from DR Desert Rural Density Residential to PF Public Facilities at 3523 North Jones Boulevard in Ward 5, Councilman Barlow. Staff is recommending approval. Related item number 42 is ZON 52401 for possible action on a request for a rezoning from RE Residence Estates to CV Civic. Staff is recommending approval. Related item number 43, SDR 52099 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 4,945 square foot church/house of worship with a waiver to allow a 9-foot landscape buffer along a portion of the east perimeter where 15 feet is required. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the proposed conversion and expansion is phase one of a two-phase project. Phase two will consist of developing the western portion of the site and shall be subject to an additional site plan review in the future. The requested landscape waiver and exceptions can be supported as they are mitigated by additional landscaping located throughout the interior of the site. Staff is recommending approval of phase one of the development and associated general plan amendment and rezoning. Phase one of the proposal is compatible with the existing and adjacent land uses, and the design of the church creates an orderly and aesthetic pleasing environment. Please note we have received additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. May we hear from the applicant, please? And sir, if you'll state your name and address.
My name is Jose Hernandez. Address is 6132 Mott Smith in North Las Vegas, Nevada. And I basically concur with all the staff recommendations. Unless there's some objections or any questions, then I'll be here to answer them.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter?
Thank you, Todd Farley, 240 North 19th Street. I think my concern is this. That area is going to be developed in the future, whether it's 10 years or 15 years down the road. At some point, somebody is going to want to put a restaurant that has liquor or drinks or something involved, and by putting the church here, are we then putting stopping any liquor in the surrounding areas. And that's my problem. Now, if the applicant would go on record as to say that they wouldn't oppose anything like that in the future, I have no problem with this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Sir, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Name's Cleandra Threets. I have the property that's 3520, 3530 North Bronco Street, which is west of the property that's there. I have some opposition to the building because of the area. When I moved out there 28 years ago, it was RE, and it was intended to be RE. I guess I assumed that it would be RE for a duration. I understand the location of this property creates, and the development of it would create a further problem to me for my property that I have on the west side of that, which is west of that property. We've had, on occasions, people transitioning from Jones over to Bronco, which is the street on the inside of the RE community. That property that we're talking about now is on the outside of the RE community, and it used to be county property. I was kind of somewhat taken back when I found out that this little section here was carved out for the city, but it was explained why it was done so. So my opposition, I think we're going to have more traffic there. I'm going to have more people trying to come through, which is the 3530 and the 3520, which is a private drive that feeds the 3530 off of Bronco. And I don't know if there's anything that's planned to debate that at this time. The meeting that I went to earlier, there was some concerns with the fact that the property was was being developed in phases, which saying that part of it will be developed, the other part of it won't. The applicant had said something to the audience about a fencing in of the property and the requirement of a 6-foot fence, but I wasn't sure where that was, if that would stop the flow of traffic. Right now, what I'm saying is this, that people from all walks of life have a tendency, and it's not an everyday thing, but it's far too often, they trample through the desert part of that property to cross over to take a shortcut, and which they come through my private property. And it's actually, I put up no trespassing signs and things like that. That hasn't helped. The 3530 property has a block wall fence that's mine, that I put in there, with the exceptions of about 80 feet, which is a rail fence because it's all horse property. And they trample through there, climb over the fence, and walk through the property. You end up, you're in your backyard, and you look up and somebody's walking through. So I think this is gonna actually open it up for more of that, because they'll have a much clearer path. So I'm really kind of opposed of it being developed the way it is, and with the plan that they have right now.
Thank you, sir, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Last name is Threats, T-H-R-E-A-T-S.
Thank you, sir.
First name, Cleandra.
Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion and open up for discussion amongst the commission. Commissioner Goins?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I used to live actually in this neighborhood a little over 20 years. Jones is a major thoroughfare. I think if any church that fronts on Jones, it's in the proper location. I think even building out the property may lessen the folks that go through the church onto your property in the back. It may provide you a little bit of cover and security back there, especially if the parishioners are in tune to what's going on their property. This has been a long-awaited developed stretch of property here. I don't think, as Mr. Farlow says, it's going to create a precedent of a proliferation of alcohol. I think if you go further south down the street towards Jones and Cheyenne, there's enough food and retail there that has the liquor. I don't foresee it coming back into this area, and mostly all residential there. I'm just happy that the area is being developed. I think it's long overweighted. I think this may spur some additional development over there, and so with that, I can actually support the request. Mr. Chairman, if there's no any questions, I move to follow staff's recommendation for.
Just a moment, Commissioner. I think Commissioner Slotman wanted to be heard.
Go ahead.
Yes, Chairman, through you, question for the applicant, and I know this isn't something we're considering tonight, but the western portion of that property, is that future expansion for the church?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have any intentions in the future of putting any type of fencing up around the property, or?
Yes, we do. In fact, when we get to that point, we will put a fence in that whole back part of the property, yes.
Okay. We experience problems with people walking through our property all the time before we put up fences, and I think, like Commissioner Goins was saying, as soon as the place gets built out, fences go up, it drastically reduces the number of people coming through, so more so than just having a vacant house or a vacant lot there, so I would be in support of it too.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Goins, I think, excuse me, Commissioner Truesdale.
I appreciate what the applicant wants to do with regards to their church, and this is kind of a unique area. The city boundary wraps around this site. Now, obviously, you have to be part of the city to tie into some of those services, but when you look at some of the comments and some of the things from the people out there, this is one of the few really RE desert rural areas out in that specific section, and while I know the good intention of the church, I believe this will lead to the further encroachment into that desert rural, which people have raised a lot of concerns about. So in as much as I think your church is appropriate, I think this is desert rural and it's RE's property, and I can't support what you're asking for.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners? Seeing none, Commissioner Goins, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, we'll move to follow staff's recommendation on GPA 52399, move for approval, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 41 carries.
Item 42, ZON 52401, move to follow staff's recommendation for approval, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve carries.
Item 43, SDR 52099, move to follow staff's recommendations for approval, subject to all conditions.
Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 43 carries.
Mr. Chairman, please note that these items will go forward to the February 19th City Council meeting.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you. Item number 44 is ZON 52100, applicant owner, Ann and Durango Holding Company, LLC, for possible action on a request for a rezoning from U, undeveloped R, rural density residential, general plan designation, to RD, single-family residential restricted at the northwest corner Ann Road and Durango Drive in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have the report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the permitted density at this location is currently 14 units per acre. The requested zoning is compatible with the general plan and is appropriate for the surrounding area. Staff recommends approval. Please note we have received additional protests and letter of support since publication.
Thank you. May I hear from the applicant, please?
Lucy Stewart, 3900 Meadows Lane, representing the property owner.
Anna Vaverka, 1442 White Drive.
And this is a little bit of an unusual piece of property in that we're at the intersection of two major streets, Ann and Durango, and we're in the city of Las Vegas, but we're surrounded by the county. So it is a little bit different. And I think that may have caused some of the concerns from the neighbors. I think they thought that it would just continue to be RE to the corner. But we are, the general plan does call for this designation. We do match what's on the east side of Durango, and then we did not submit a plan. We had sort of a layout, which turns out to be pretty much just a cul-de-sac into the property. But because it didn't have enough dimensions to be a tentative map, staff asked us not to submit it to not confuse anybody. But we suspect will be like a mirror image to the cul-de-sac that's on the south side of Ann Road. We weren't required to have a neighborhood meeting, but we did go out into the neighborhood, and so that's why Anna's here, is she is the one that actually went out and met with the neighbors, and we met with the immediately surrounding neighbors. So if you have any questions of her or like a presentation from her, she'd be more than happy to. I think some of the concerns that the neighbors had is whether or not these would be two-story homes. We just don't know at this point in time. But there could be two-story homes in RE. So I know that's a concern. We're more than happy to agree to any conditions, but I think that there really aren't any we can put on at this time. But when it comes in for development, we'll be happy to work with the neighbors, and to work with fence heights and setbacks and all that.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Good evening, and ma'am, if you'd state your name and address, please.
Robin Dodge, 8460 West Ann Road. I am the property right next to this one on the west. My house does face Ann Road. My concern is that these will be my neighbors to the side, and that everything in this area is half-acre rural preservation. They're matching the density towards the east, but what about the people towards the west? We're all used to much bigger lots. And in fact, across from us on Ann Road, when they built that development, they matched our property lines. I'm absolutely fine with it being residential. I love that. I just don't really want two neighbors on my property line, possibly three, and I definitely would not support anything over two-story.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Moody.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering if the applicant has any response to the neighbors' concerns.
I guess I heard through you, Mr. Chairman, that I guess she's asking for us to stay at RE. And the general plan actually calls for RD because we are right at the corner of two major streets. And so we thought this was a much better, pretty much around the valley, people tend to ask for commercial at corners, and we're asking for just to sort of match what's to the east and what's to the south across Ann in the county. So, when we come in with a plan, we'll be happy to work with her and, work with landscaping and we won't go over two stories for sure.
And that was exactly through you, Mr. Chair. My recommendation would be simply work with the homeowner, get together with her so that both sides, this can be a win-win for both sides.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Goins?
Just curious, you said she went out and talked to the neighbors. I just want to hear what they have to say. Were you talking to neighbors that lived in the county, or were they the city neighbors?
All of the neighbors that I spoke to were within the county, none within this, well, there were one or two within the city, but mostly within the county. It's rural estates, and several of them spoke on concerns with the change, but there was also, it was more of things that they could work with the developer on, such as off-site lights, landscaping, those sort of issues.
Thank you. Commissioner Moody.
Mr. Chair, seeing no further discussion on item 44 ZON 52100, my motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval subject to all conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 44 carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this item goes forward to the February 19th City Council meeting.
Going to related item, going to related items 47 and 48, beginning with item number 47, SUP 52105, special use permit. Applicant owner is Charette Holdings 2 LLC for possible action on request for a special use permit for a proposed tavern limited establishment use at 814 South 3rd in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Related item number 48 is SDR 52106, Site Development Plan Review related to SUP 52105. Applicant owner is Charette Holdings 2 LLC for possible action on a request for a Site Development Plan Review for a proposed 53,885 square foot, 3-story commercial recreation amusement indoor facility, walk-in theater with a tavern limited establishment and restaurant. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have the report, please?
Chairman, before we start, just wanted to say I met with the applicants, went through their project with them, had full intentions on voting tonight, spoke to Brian Scott, and once we start looking at it closer, it is for a tavern. And since I'm within the notification of a tavern use that I own, I will have to abstain on this matter.
Thank you, Commissioner. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant proposes to construct a walk-in movie theater that will provide food and alcohol beverage service to select screening rooms. There will also be a restaurant and beverage service provided to customers within the designated dining areas and within a private outdoor seating area located along 3rd Street. The applicant has provided a grade-level tuck-under parking garage design that is accessed from the rear alley and screened from the public right-of-way. The building elevations along 3rd Street and Gas Avenue feature both canopies and metal awnings that will add to the pedestrian comfort, along with other urban amenities such as bike racks and benches. The proposed development is oriented to the street with a strong focus on utilizing the street corner as the main entrance. The proposed use and design of this proposal will make a positive contribution to the urban design for the residents in the immediate area and of the community at large. Staff recommends approval of both the special use permit and site development plan review. Please note additional letters of support have been received after the publishing. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicants, please? And if y'all could state your name and addresses, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Melvin Green, Principal at KME Architects, 6765 West Russell Road, Suite 200, Las Vegas, Nevada 89118. And I have with me Nick Steele, the developer for the project.
Good afternoon. I'm Nick Steele, operating member of Eclipse Theaters, address 11,700 West Charleston Boulevard.
Thank you.
And at this time, Nick is going to give us a presentation of his vision of what the theater is created to do. And if we have any questions, technical questions, I can answer those as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Essentially, this theater is the culmination of about 12 months of listening to individuals in the area, listening to constituents and entities and of what they wanted in the area of downtown. After traveling around the country and looking at different models of theaters, we came to the conclusion that it would make a positive contribution to the downtown area to build a theater that was not an ordinary theater. This is a venue that we think of as a one-stop shop or the ultimate date night. It's a place where you can eat at a restaurant, you can watch a movie, and then hang out at a bar or lounge all within the same venue. This is, if I can ask you to imagine for a second, imagine going to a theater, being served by a wait staff. If you're cold, you get a blanket, complimentary bag of popcorn in the VIP section. We really want to bring a different and a unique experience downtown, one that's not that is not offered on the Strip or any other place in Las Vegas. And when we thought about the design for the area, we tried to incorporate some of the designs of City Hall and some of the designs of the lofts just to the south. And our entire vision is to incorporate different aspects of the community and work with the community in terms of workforce development and training programs, as well as profit sharing with community partners.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter?
Thank you, Todd Farland, 240 North 19th Street. Is this live theater or screen theater?
You can go ahead and just answer that quick question so everybody's clear.
Sure. This is our first run movie theater, so screen theaters.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners, beginning with Commissioner Truesdale.
What kind of distribution company would be part of this? Because theaters have a very closed circle on first-run films, so I was just curious.
We've been pretty blessed from the beginning to have on our board of directors the former chairman of NATO, the National Association of Theater Operators, and we've been able to, within this area, there are no competitors, and so our film buyers have already been secured and already have relationships with the major movie houses. We're not really concerned with the ability to get first from movie theaters. We're actually well within the range of the unwritten rule of competition.
Okay, great.
Any other commissioners? This looks like a very beautiful project. You'll definitely have my support tonight. And I'll entertain a motion.
I'll be happy to make that. Item 47, SUP 52105. The motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 47 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
Item 48, SDR 52106. The motion is also to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 48 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
Mr. Chairman, these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Mr. Chairman? If I could, I just wanted to, Mel Green, I know his partner, Kevin Haywood, is serving, I believe he's in Afghanistan, he's on another tour.
Yes, he's on another tour for 6 months in Afghanistan, and we just want to make sure that we have him in our prayer for
Yes.
the next 4 or 5 months.
Please, if you talk to him, tell him our prayers are with him. Be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Going on to related items 49 and 50, beginning with item number 49, SUP 52120, special use permit, applicant owner, 11th Street Tavern LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed tavern limited establishment use at 120 South 11th Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Related item number 50, SDR 52121, site development plan review related to SUP 52120. Applicant owner is 11th Street Tavern LLC for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 880 square foot tavern limited establishment with 8,654 square foot private outdoor plaza at 120 South 11th Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Chairman, due to ongoing business relationship, I'll be abstaining on this matter. Hopefully this is the last one of the evening.
We may have to give back your per diem. Staff, may we have the report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a special use permit for a proposed tavern limited establishment use located at 120 South 11th Street in conjunction with the site development plan brief for the proposed utilization of an existing 880 square foot structure and the conversion of an existing parking lot into an 8,654 square foot private outdoor plaza. The existing 880 square foot structure will feature a box office, restrooms, and a walk-up window at the rear for alcohol beverage service. All alcohol drinks will be consumed on premise within the contained private plaza area, which will function as an outdoor entertainment venue. The outdoor plaza features a stage located at the northwest corner of the site, and the gated access points are proposed at the front of the property along 11th Street and at the rear of the property adjacent to the existing alley. The applicant proposes to improve accessibility to the site with ramp access at 11th Street. The proposed development can be conducted in a manner that remains harmonious and compatible with existing land uses and will contribute to the stated goals for new commercial ventures for the East Village District. Therefore, staff recommends approval with conditions. Please note that additional letters of support have been received after the publishing. Thank you.
Thank you. May I hear from the applicant, please?
Todd Kessler, 300 Las Vegas Boulevard North, here on behalf of the applicant. This is a sister item to an item that went forward last month with the bunkhouse. This is an entitlement for a tavern limited license in the outdoor section of the bunkhouse. And I would ask that you approve subject to staff conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
On item 49, SUP 52120, the motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 49 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
And item 50, SDR 52121, motion is also to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 50 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
Mr. Chairman, these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Director, through you, Chairman, question for the director. Is this outside the east?
Yes, it is outside.
So
it's also subject to the
these
noise.
licenses have fees to them, right?
Yes, they do have fees to them.
Going to item number 51, which is SUP 52268, special use permit. Applicant is Thin Air LLC. The owner is Asaf Nevada, Inc., for possible action on a request for a special use permit for an alternative parking standard to allow 0 additional parking spaces where 148 additional spaces are required for a proposed commercial recreation/amusement indoor use at 7350 Prairie Falcon Road in Ward 4, Councilman Anthony. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds that the parking demand analysis performed by the applicant's engineer meets the requirements for a special use permit, and there will be no negative impact to the existing uses on the site or the surrounding area, and recommends approval. Please note we did receive additional protests and letters of support since publication.
Thank you. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Lucy Stewart, 3900 Meadows Lane, and
Ted Egerton, 6345 South Jones Boulevard.
as indicated, this is it's an indoor recreation facility, which is a trampoline facility, and so basically it's covered with trampolines. And so you're very limited on the number of people who can occupy the space because for safety reasons, there's, I guess, federal regulations on how many people. can be in there. And this is also the location of pole position, which they got a parking variance for basically the same reason, that the bulk of their site is taken up by the track. So you're limited by the number of people who can be in either place at one time. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Egerton because he actually did the analysis, and he checked also another trampoline indoor place.
Good evening. When we did the parking study, what we found was that the ITE parking generation manual really doesn't have an exact use for a trampoline facility. So what we did was we actually found one down on Dean Martin Drive, an existing trampoline facility, and we actually observed that facility. We also observed the existing building to determine the parking rates not only on the weekdays, but on the weekends as well. In summary, our findings found that the 162 parking stalls will be satisfactory for all the uses within the existing building.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Bonar?
If I'm not mistaken, this variance we're talking about would demise if the use changes, correct?
Right. Well, I don't want to answer for staff, sorry.
Mr. Director?
Mr. Chairman, through you to respond to Commissioner Bonar's question. That is correct. Because this is actually a special use permit, it is tied specifically to the use. And so if the use changes, then it reverts back to the parking standard for any new use.
Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, so total there is 162 parking spaces?
Correct.
And that's for the entire building with the open jump, the ninja, the screen change, but the ninja room or dodgeball and
Right.
everything. What if it was a same use, such as a gymnasium, or like a workout facility that went in after the fact? Would that have any impact on this?
Potentially, it could have an impact. Because the parking study that has been submitted is specific to this type of facility, any new indoor recreation facility that would come in, we'd have to evaluate it for conformance with the parking study that was done to see if it's similar enough. And so staff would need to make that evaluation.
Okay. Based on those facts, I'm comfortable with this.
And I'll echo Commissioner Slotman's comments as well. I'm comfortable with this as well. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, on item 21, SUP 52268.
51.
I'm sorry, 51, SUP 52268, the motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post.
Thank you very much.
The motion to approve item 51 carries.
And this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item 52, which is SDR 51999, Site Development Plan Review. The applicant owner is 228 South 4th LLC. For possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 23-story, 402,500 square foot hotel and parking garage at 222 and 228 South 4th Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval, and staff, before you give the report, I'll be abstaining on this matter as I've done legal work for the applicant's representative. And staff, we could have the report.
Mr. Chairman, this project meets all the requirements of the Downtown Centennial Plan, and staff recommends approval.
Mr. Garcia, please state your name.
Chairman, Commissioners, George Garcia, 1711 Whitney Mesa Drive, Suite 110. Pleasure to be before you, certainly with an exciting project, just continuing sort of the renaissance of the downtown and bringing more energy with this project. We concur with staff's analysis and recommendations and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to be heard on this matter? Mr. Farlow?
Todd Farlow, I sure welcome this. It's beautiful.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment, and Commissioner Schlotman.
Yes, Vice Chair, through you. I like the building. I think it's a great-looking building. I think it's a perfect spot for it. Downtown, you're not seeking any waivers or variances. It's just a hotel. And I like the fact that we'll have a non-gaming hotel downtown as well. Place for people who might be attending the conventions, or even my family who doesn't want to come stay inside of a gaming hotel. So I would welcome it downtown.
Why don't you go ahead and make a motion?
All right. On item number 52, actually, let me ask Vice Chair, through you. I'm just looking at something, 228 South 4th Street, that's not owned by Downtown Project, is it?
Mr. Chairman, no, this is not owned by the downtown project.
Okay. On item number 52, SDR 51999, I would make a motion to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Please vote. Please post. And motion passes, noting the abstention of the chair.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Chairman,
please note that this
Commissioners, thank
item
you.
is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. Item number 53, which is SDR 52089, applicant owner Great Wash Park LLC, for possible action on a request for a major amendment of an approved site development plan review to reduce the southeast side yard setback from 115 feet to 65 feet, and to reduce the number of residential units from 340 to 300 of an existing mixed-use development at 330, 340, and 350 and 360 South Rampart Boulevard in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending approval.
Mr. Chairman, the height of the building will not change. The number of residential units is being decreased from 340 units to 300, and the side yard setback is being reduced by 48 feet from the original approval. There are no variances, waivers, or exceptions as part of this project, as it meets all of the code requirements and the original approved site plan. Staff recommends approval of the project. Please note we have received additional protests and support letters since publication.
Thank you. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, Greg Borgel, 300 South 4th Street, here representing the Tivoli project, this component being the residential component of that. We appreciate the staff's favorable recommendation. We accept all their conditions. We did conduct a neighborhood meeting very early in the process, and we've met continuously with any input that the city has received that's been communicated to us. We believe we've responded to what concerns were raised. Very briefly put, this is, this is the current elevation that would face to the southeast, which has the reduced setback. We think very clearly this is a superior arrangement for the people to the southeast, and that's what we've explained when we've had our neighbor meetings. The prior approval was essentially a 5 and more story building straight up, a wall as it were, further back, but a solid wall. In this case, as you can see, although it is closer to the houses, it is also stepped back in 6 or 7 layers, each layer being a landscaped patio, semi-public area, so that in terms of the visibility of these neighbors, it's greatly enhanced. That is, they're looking at a low-rise building stepped back a greater distance than the prior building would have been when you reach the top of the building. In addition, the building is broken up, so it is not a solid wall behind the residences. And lastly, the pool area is now screened behind a building so that if there were an event that created noise at the pool area, or if just normal noise of a pool came about, it would be buffered by the building between us and the residences to the south. We would appreciate your favorable action on that basis. We think we've improved an already good project.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter?
Thank you, Todd Farlow. What a perfect solution. And those green stepped roofs, my, we need a whole bunch more of those. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Truesdale?
I'm going to abstain on this item only because I was just following up on an email, and I do have a client that's negotiating with the retail next door, so I think it would be inappropriate to vote at this time.
Commissioner Bonner?
Yes, the one thing that's not showing, and I don't know, Mr. Burdell, if you have it with you, the before picture that was approved prior to this, because when I put them side by side and saw them side by side to see what was approved and compare it to what this plan shows, there'd be no difference, and no way that we could say the old site was anything compared to this proposed site today. As you can see, there was a solid facade that was what the neighbors would face to the south, and in the current showing of the step back, the probably caused because of the 3-to-1 constriction, the result is far superior to what was. Plus, that pool area was open to the neighbors to the south, and this pool location is behind a structure and much more contained in respect of the neighbors to the south. I give nothing but praise for the redesign. I'm ready to support it, and with all staff conditions, but let's see if there's any other comments first.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sloman?
Yes, Chairman, through you. It's a beautiful looking building, and I don't know what brought about the reduction in the homes, but or in the quantity of residential units you're constructing. But I tell you what, seeing that you're meeting Title 19, not asking for waivers, variances, in addition to the track record of the developer out there, he builds a beautiful product, and I know that this is one that will be built, and very much looking forward to seeing construction getting started. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bonner, I'll entertain a motion.
I do have an issue that I'd like to ask staff for a response, and that is, I frequent the area, and I'm always caught in a 2 or 3, we'll call them phased traffic before I can make left turns into the Boca or the Tivoli area. And I don't know what the threshold is, but I think it's beyond it now. So with not only this development being proposed, but the addition to the shops on the Tivoli, I believe we're way beyond the warrant, and I wonder if you could catch me up on what it does to require additional traffic signals with synchronization and whatever all is needed to move traffic better, because it's bad now. It's going to shortly get worse.
Mr. Chairman, through you, if I may, I don't have a really good answer for you tonight. I will say that a traffic corridor study was done, I think, back in 2005, and per that study, as different projects have come in, we've tried to get an additional 10 feet along Rampart, so we can accommodate maybe additional lanes sometime in the future. I think that's probably the only thing that will help capacity to go, get more capacity through on Rampart would be an additional lane. We've also tried to get right turn lanes where possible so that you can get the right turn lanes off of Rampart as soon as we can. But at this point, we don't have a project, I don't think, to fix anything there.
An additional lane or pull-out lane is one thing. I'm talking about additional signals at the, what would be the north entrance into the Boca, where there's no signal, but there's a pocket for left turn lanes, and I've sat there 3 different times, 3 different phases, waiting to make my left turn, and there's people behind me at every time. If that's not an area where there's a signal missing, I don't know what traffic is. If you can look at your thresholds, please, and see if you can get that warrant in place now before this is occupied, I think we'd all benefit by that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and we'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I move to approve item number 53, SDR 52089, with all staff conditions, and I would implore the staff to hurry up the warrant for additional signalization and synchronization of that signal. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 53 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Truesdale.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you very much, and we want to thank the neighbors who worked with us on this project in case they're watching on television.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Going to Director's Business, item number 54, TXT 52369. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. Discussion and possible action to update the Downtown Centennial Plan to add the indoor garden supply / plant nursery use to the 18B Arts District. Staff has no recommendations. May we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this would add the garden supply plant nursery as an indoor use to the list of permitted uses within the Art District. In other respects, it would be identical to the garden supply plant nursery found in Title 19.12, and there is no special use permit requirement as part of this proposal. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Terry Murphy, and I am representing my friend and colleague, Mark Abelman, who is the president of the 18B Las Vegas Arts District. And he asked me, since I was going to be here anyway, to express his support for this amendment. And he's very excited about the possibility of having that kind of a business in the Arts District.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Truesdale?
Mr. Chairman, as much as I own property within the 18B, I don't think this item will impact me any greater or any less than anyone else, and I will vote on this item.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, I do own a bar in the Arts District, but this won't affect me one way or another, so I'll be voting on this matter. A question for staff: why do we need a text amendment to allow them to grow microgreens? And
what kind of microgreens you grow?
Not, or what? I'm sorry. What is? No, I got misinformation the other day, but not marijuana. I mean, we know that this is not going to be. Kalani out here is not going to be growing pot in his little spot over on 4th Street. I did walk into his establishment, 5 months ago, and he was growing small little plants. I won't call them herbs, but it's stuff that he would sell to the restaurants to make tea and seasoning and things like that. So why do we need an ordinance to grow plants?
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and respond to the question. Back when the uses for the Arts District were first adopted back in 2003, we took our recommendations from the Arts District Neighborhood Association in place at that point in time. And so there is a very specific list of uses that are permitted within the Arts District. The use that Kalani is proposing most closely fits into the category that we have for a garden supply plant nursery, and that was not included on the list. And so consequently, we need to amend the permitted uses in the Arts District to allow that use, and so that's why we have the text amendment.
Okay, well, I support this. I think there's an art to growing plants, so.
Go ahead and make a motion, Commissioner.
Okay, Chairman, on item number 54, TXT 52369, I would make a motion to approve.
Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 54 carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item will go forward to City Council in ordinance format.
Thank you. Going to the final item of the evening, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Does anybody wish to be heard under this portion? Seeing none.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Sloman?
Just one quick comment. Whenever I was abstaining on one of the items, I was going to wander out to my truck and badges aren't working, so I was wandering through staircases and finally ended up outside and had to come back in. So just let everybody know that we might need the marshals to kind of escort us back down to our parking garage, or we'll be stuck outside as well.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner.
I can let you guys out.
All right. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.